High energy physics, which is what I do, is a global enterprise. It always has been. It's probably the most global enterprise there is. And it's being probed at accelerators around the world, and literally around the world, including the Triumph Lab in Vancouver, British Columbia.
You've just set sail on the SS Imagination.
You might just say, well, okay, obviously the Big Bang was wrong. You know, I mean, you look around the world and you don't see any antimatter, so obviously the Big Bang picture is wrong. But in fact, the Big Bang picture predicts quite a number of things which we observe. So we believe it's right.
Hello, my friend. There's something really weird about the scientific community. Now, I'm not talking about our actual regular scientists now. No. Not them. We need someone to test things and do experiments. And we need science. Not them. I'm talking about the clowns. The clowns who come up with the most irrational and unnecessary theories, ideas, experiments, whatever, that make no sense and are of no use whatsoever to mankind. Do you remember when good men would stop it? When they would speak up and say, hey, this doctor, professor, scientist has lost their way. Stop them now. They have no concern for life, humanity, nothing. They'll go to no ends with their insanity. The mad scientist, though, because something happens to them. To any man given power, it corrupts their mind. And in a scientist, when their mind gets corrupted, they go off the deep end. Nowadays, there's no one to stop them. Where have we heard that before? Now, I'm not picking on scientists, right? But I include every single person involved with this madness. Yes, you sitting there pushing the buttons on the computer screen for NASA, same thing. You're all in on it. I used to think not everybody knows they're lying, but I was wrong. You know what? They all know that it's complete bullshit. Every one of them. Like, why don't we stop them from this AI issue? I mean, their main creator, okay, if you want to call him that, even thinks they're dangerous. Like an accident waiting to happen, right? Idiots. And if they could do it, they would. All right? They would love nothing more than to have a machine that would take care of all their dirty work for them. Just like before. Nothing's changed. Just a different vessel that they're using. Now, with man being so greedy and so hungry for power and fame and fortune, well, it's easy to manipulate somebody so stupid, right? How many times have you heard, I sold my soul to the devil? How stupid could you be? Honestly. If you had one to sell and he was from the other side, well, doesn't that mean that God is real, you idiot? Oh my God, so stupid. But what do you do, right? What do you say to someone? Stop believing everything they're saying to you, but you know what? It becomes asinine, it becomes ridiculous. The things that come out of your mouth, the things that come out of my mouth to people, they probably sound absolutely ridiculous to them. They love this world. They're of this world. Therefore, nothing makes sense to them but what you say to them that is of the world. If you say to them something differently than what they've been taught, what they know, what they see, hear, touch, feel, taste, everything, they don't want to know about it. Now, they're so blind that they can't even see that they're worshiping fallen angels. They say, oh no, I'm doing it for Jesus. No, you're not. You're a moron. Do you not look to see what you're doing? Did you not check on it before you let your child do it? I'm guilty of it too. But at least I woke up one day and said, well, wait a second, you're right. Well, what am I doing just allowing them to do that, to tell me what's what? Well, let me check on them then. If you're telling me they're lying to me, then I better check, because I love my family. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love my dogs. I love my animals. I love everything, right? I don't want none of my friends or family or anyone to be misled. So if you're telling me something's really bad wrong, I'm not going to shut you out of my world. I'm going to see what's going on. And I did. And I'm happy I did. Because the insanity is at a new level. The insanity goes far beyond anything that you could ever imagine. These idiots will go to they have no bounds. They have no realistic way of controlling these idiots anymore. And because they have not controlled them, because they have not set boundaries and they have not set rules, the ones that we see now that are on the books, who cares, right? But if no one is there to arrest these scientists, to arrest these madmen for what they're doing, it's no different than having a state or a city or a town or country that says, you know what, it's okay to kill, steal, murder, rape. It's okay. You can do those things. Well, if you make the law and say no one's there to enforce it, right? Well, when the cat's away, the mice will play, right? So what if the cat never comes back? Oh, well, then you got chaos, right? It's common sense. It's not a conspiracy theory. Common sense should tell you, when you get to a certain point, you should no longer want to argue the facts, argue the math, argue what someone said or did or whatever. It should get to a certain point to where you would agree as a human being, enough's enough. That's enough. Calm down, sit down. Like a child. Spoil a child, what happens to him? Right. Same way with a man. Give him unbridled power like that and see what happens to him. He becomes insane. Mad with drunk off of the entire being of himself to try to do whatever it is they're trying to do, whether it be a scientist trying to create, perform, experiment, inject, whatever he's doing, okay? Same way with a doctor. If you don't stop them, they just become more and more and more power hungry. Now, there are good doctors, they're good everyone. But the problem is, it's not the good doctors. The problem is have you ever seen anyone show up and say, you're under arrest for, killing all these animals and do it? Well, of course we have, but now you've never seen one go to a scientist and say, this scientist and everyone involved in this research went to jail. Why? Because what they were doing was so evil and it was so against the law. No, see what happens is they come out and they say, we accidentally let some stuff out. We accidentally did this, or they'll blame it on like one person and claim that no one else knew that what they were doing, right? It's complete bullshit. That's all it is. Now at NASA, you couldn't even step in deeper, okay? At NASA, have you ever wondered, what it takes? What did it take to calculate all of those numbers that you get? Because I have an issue with the rocket is doing 20,000 miles an hour, 15,000 miles an hour, 14, 20,000, 18,000 miles an hour. It's freaking ridiculous. Because look at this. This is as fast as we can go, 6,000 miles per hour right here. Now remember, 6,000 miles an hour, okay? And they're claiming speeds way past this. And with your naked eye and with your eyes, I want your eyes to lie to you and imagine 4 times faster than what you're fixing to see now is what they claim that shit's going in the sky that you're looking at with your own eyes. Watch this. Watch closely. Now, if you don't see something's wrong with that, I can't help you. But let's dive further into this. Meet mathematician Miss Katherine Johnson. In 1962, and I quote, "She figured out how to use geometry for space travel. But in 1962, we had never been into space, and no craft existed, and the math and measurements were not known." Until she came along. Not an astronaut, just a mathematician. And according to the official NASA statement, quote, "She took NASA's idea of the man on the moon and set out to create a mathematical model. She worked out thousands of numbers for the velocities and trajectories and so on. Quote, as an equation matched, it was accepted, and distances and speeds and trajectories were changed to adapt to her math." Wow. NASA claims that her equations and math sent astronauts to the moon. Poor Miss Johnson. And I hope nobody told her, because she was smart, and this would have worked to her credit. But NASA lied about the sun, moon, stars, and not to mention the Earth. However, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins all thank Miss Johnson for her math, because with it, they made it safely back home. You see, Miss Johnson was only used to allow the mad scientists to continue their madness. Because of her math, and it all worked, and it couldn't be argued, you see, because the people who called NASA's space missions and everything and what they were doing a hoax, and it was just all far-fetched. See, now the math backed up their insanity. So now let's travel around time for a second. In the 1500s, remember, most scientists during Copernicus's time, they didn't agree with his ideas or his theories about a ball Earth. Only when he died was his work published. Oh, that's kind of odd, right? He claimed, and no one agreed, that the Earth and planets revolve around the sun. It was almost as if he died before he got a chance to do whatever it was that someone needed him to do. Imagine that. Due to the experiments and observations, this was a false statement and false reasoning theories to all. Move along a little bit in time, and during the 1590s to the 1600s, mainstream science all agreed that the theories of the heliocentric models were absolutely 100% religion-based. Galileo was also a sun god worshiper. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Just as Copernicus was, both of them. And they prayed to the east. Then the ether was also accepted. It was accepted as a reality by scientists. We can even see it with our own eyes. It doesn't exist. Until fairly recently. See, until that is that, Einstein's relativity changed the books. When his models wouldn't work, another theory would be made up, and they would just explain it perfectly, no matter how insane it was. In 1917, before he was hired and used by NASA, Einstein was quoted by claiming the Earth was stationary and it had a static universe. Imagine that. Then all of a sudden, Edwin Hubble comes along, and his theories overrode every one of his ideas. So mainstream, they used Hubble's crazy ideas, and they ignored Einstein, and they kind of covered all that up as the time went on, and his stance. And what they did, they debunked him just with math alone, not with observations or experiments. They just used math. And every time a scientist would disprove Einstein or any other heliocentric scientist, well, a new theory had to be made. Imagine that, right? Yeah. See, never a fact, just a theory. Remember what theory means, all right? And if the math worked, it was accepted. If your math can't be, overrode, and the math actually works, 2 + 2 is 4, I agree, well, then it can be done. We'll jump around here. This mad scientist in 1783 named John Mitchell allegedly claimed that if a star was massive enough, now imagine this, a body would fall from an infinite height towards it. It would have acquired as its surface greater velocity than light, and all light it emitted would return to itself by gravity. Really? In 1783, you figured that out. In the 1800s, the physicists believed light to be a wave in the ether, and they assumed to have no mass, therefore there was no gravity. They were known as lights in the firmament, wandering stars, dancing lights. But see, we can't have that. So mad scientist Einstein in 1950 published his theory of, general relativity. All was predictions and theories. Nothing was even proven, just math. Then a mad scientist named Arthur Eddington in the 1900s, during a solar eclipse, claimed that light rays were deflected by the sun's gravity. It's not proven, not measured, just theorized. Math. Once relativity was established, right, the black holes existed. And all the things that was rejected by mainstream was now made scientific fact, even though all claims were theories and complete and utter bullshit. Gets even better than that. You can't make this up. Wannabe mad scientist Herman Oberth. You ever heard of him? Probably not. But in the 1920s, old Herman had ideas. He convinced a studio film to fund his crazy plans to build a rocket. He even had a space station, he had all that kind of stuff figured out, right? People loved it. He came up with ideas of launch facilities, test sites, everything. And in 1923, he published a book, The Rocket into Planetary Space. And despite heavy criticism, right? Everybody was like, oh no, you're not going to do that. Even scientists were like, that's just so far-fetched. The book became a standard reference work. Standard reference work, seriously. See, people, it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. What a joke. He was an actor, y'all, making movies. In 1928, a sci-fi film made Woman in the Moon. That film made the highest grossest film in 1929, and they were like, wow, people took notice of this. They love it. Oberth built a rocket model for the movie, and they premiered this rocket on November 15th of 1929. It was a real rocket. It had like 7 kilograms of thrust, it says. A couple pounds of thrust for like 50 seconds. On July 23rd, 1930, they lit it off. But after several tests, the rocket was useless. It couldn't fly, there was no thrust, poor design. It went like 90 feet, turned upside down, crashed. Well, by 1934, they just quit doing that altogether. However, NASA writes, I quote, Herman Oberth. Now here is the true time when you need to open your mind and listen to what they tell you to your face. Herman Oberth shows us that enthusiastic, dedicated engineers, believing in their missions, are always able to sell their extraordinary ideas to the public and to the sponsors. Get the hell out of my face with that. Are you serious? Did they need to show you on paper, spell it out to you, tattoo it across your forehead? Because since we were kids, these mad scientists have told us that the rocks that we see took billions of years to form, and that the fossils and all these things we find with bone marrow in them are billions of years old. Well, since technology has caught up to their lies, it's kind of hard now. See, you were told about a process that dates these rocks, right? That gave them these astronomical numbers. It's called radiometric dating. It's allegedly, radioactive isotopes break down in a predictable amount of time. I'll give you that. Geologists use this to determine the age of a sample. And they use a piece of equipment called, now get ready for one of the big words, a thermal ionization mass spectrometer. And get out of here with that. And since no one's used this, okay, ever, billions of years ago, right? The data that they put in, okay, how they mic it, how they, you have to calibrate something. Well, calibrate it in make-believe. That's a good way to go. We're given dates of the Earth, right? Like I said, 4.5, 4.8 billion years, give or take a few million, right? Who really cares? And plate tectonics, that's another way. They outright lie about the Earth. They claim that all the continents float on lava, and eventually, everything you see will slip underneath the crust of the Earth, right? And be consumed by fire. No, they will be consumed by fire. They break the Earth up in 3 sections, the crust, the mantle, and the core. And since the deepest anyone has ever went into the ground is, 42,000 feet or so? Well, that's a long ways from the very top layer of 132,000 feet, isn't it? Oh, so they can't do math now, right? Now, this is all alleged. This is according to their model, not mine. And the scientists even admit they know more about fake space than they do the Earth under our feet. Imagine that. Well, I wonder what a real scientist has to say about 4.8 billion years and radioactive isotopes and the the earth being broke up into these sections and this insanity. What does he have to say about it?
But let's discuss what radiocarbon dating is all about. It's otherwise known as carbon-14 dating, and it is based on the carbon-14 atom. Radiocarbon, most people think of carbon-14 or radiocarbon as being used to date rocks. Well, in fact, you can't date rocks with radiocarbon for two reasons. One, because most rocks don't contain carbon, but more importantly, radiocarbon decays very rapidly. To give you, put it in perspective, radiocarbon decays so quickly that if every atom of the Earth was radiocarbon, within just 1 million years, there'd be no radiocarbon atoms left. It will all have decayed away, which is why geologists don't use radiocarbon to, say, date fossils, simply because the fossils they believe are millions of years old. And I was involved in a research study recently where we took coal samples from coal that was 40 million years old, supposedly, down to coal that was supposedly 300 million years old. And we sent it to a major laboratory, a recognised university laboratory for radiocarbon, and every one of those coal samples contained radiocarbon in it, detectable radiocarbon. And we fully expected that they would contain radiocarbon because most of the world's major laboratories have already reported radiocarbon in coal, in limestone and fossils, but they don't think about it in terms of an age, a true age for the rocks. And it didn't matter whether the coal was supposedly 40 million years old or 300 million years old, it had the same amount of detectable radiocarbon in it, and it gave a young age of only tens of thousands of years. Similarly, I've collected shells in rocks that are supposed to be 120 million years old in Northern California, and they also give a radiocarbon age of tens of thousands of years. Now that makes sense because the coal was laid down during Noah's flood. It's plants that were fossilised in beds during the flood. So they all were fossilised, buried and fossilised in the same year-long event. So we'd expect them to give the same radiocarbon age. Of course, those radiocarbon ages are based on the assumption that radiocarbon has always been produced in the atmosphere at the rate we find today. We know that the Earth's magnetic field was stronger in the past, which means that the radiocarbon production rate would have been slower in the past, which means that those dates are highly inflated. When we take into account what the radiocarbon was like at the time of the flood, those ages of tens of thousands of years come down to about 4,000 to 5,000 years. We even tested diamonds for radiocarbon and found that they did contain radiocarbon. Diamonds are found inside the Earth at very great depths, and they are part of the initial makeup of the Earth. So these diamonds give a young radiocarbon age, which implies that the Earth is very young. So in fact, when we look at the real hard facts of radiocarbon dating and the results that we get, we find that radiocarbon actually agrees with the Bible, confirms what the Bible has already said about Earth history, that the Earth is young and that was a global catastrophic flood.
Yeah, see, there's so many people against these scientists. See, National Geographic, Discovery Channel, all the shills here on YouTube, the scientific community in a whole, right? Everyone trying to keep their gravy jobs with their insane bosses. Well, they have an explanation and a theory, if you will, of everything. And people eat it up as truth. They can even tell you what the wandering stars are made of. Absolutely, they sure can. What we see as dancing lights, they claim are solid objects. Yeah, amazing. Well, I'm not doubting that there's not solid objects out there that you're looking at, whether it be a light, a picture, whatever it is, I have no idea. Neither do they. But I'll tell you one thing it's not. You cannot look at Jupiter and tell me what the center of that, whatever it is made out of. And for you to tell me that it is a ball flying through outer space with a molten metal core, you should be slapped for that. That's ridiculous. Why would we accept them? When they said that, someone should have said, excuse me, you know, have you not lost your mind a little bit? Like, have you ever been there? No? Okay, so shut up. Shut up before you make us look bad. But they don't care. They don't care. The people who fund them are like, say more, say more. The people who work with them, they're like, oh God, it's so awesome. You know everything. No, he doesn't. He's a mad scientist. He's a moron. He's someone who we would have stopped a long time ago. He just hasn't been stopped yet. See, until he destroys a few million people or causes a catastrophic event to happen, no one's going to stop him. Yep. And remember, see, the Big Bang Theory, that's their starting model, all right? Now remember, even though it's complete insanity, the information that you're told as fact is known by every single one of them to be completely crap. They know it's false. They know that it's so outlandish, but that's what keeps their scientific community going. If everyone said that's ridiculous, no one would fund it anymore, you see? And with no funding, you can't play D&D with your friends. The Big Bang is a theory from the godless, pushed and taught by the ones that pretty much worship demons and tell you there's no God. A complete joke of a theory that's 10 times more far-fetched than God's explanation for everything. You see, since God said that it was not movable, these clowns have to make it move. And since God said that there was a firmament above us, these clowns have to go through it. And God forbid, since the earth has foundations and no one can measure it, oh my goodness, they have to pull a tape measure right across it. You see, it's all bullshit. No one can check any of their claims. None of them. Either you believe them or you don't. But most of everything you've been told is just a figment of the imagination and a godless person claiming to know the secrets of the heavens. But your free will allows you to see it for what it really is if you don't buy in to the insanity. Because see, you were protected in the past. We've all heard about these mad scientists and we've seen the movies and all that, but they went mad with their experiments and ideas. It corrupted them, so to speak, just like a person who works in a position to where they get this power. We see it every day. Every day. We've read the stories, we've seen it, it's in history. They become drunk off of power. It corrupts a man. Humans are corrupted by those things. Because for some reason, it destroys the soul. And, well, after so long, these scientists become obsessed with their cause, no matter what the cost. You see, no one kept them in check. And they're not going to until it's too late. Even their loved ones weren't safe around them. You know, you've heard that. And somebody had to step in, or they would, blow up the sun, start a zombie apocalypse and all that, like I said, or turn their kid into a monster. Nothing's changed. It's just more of an advanced type of crazy. The world leaders, they count on these scientists for their new toys to play D&D with their buddies with. And at CERN, they study all aspects of physics. They claim to study the origins of the universe. Billions upon billions of dollars a year. And what have they figured out? Not a damn thing. How to heal a body? Nope. For humanity? Nothing? Nope. Nope. We can do some x-rays and, fix some food and stuff, but that's about it. It's not a joke to them either. No matter how insane they seem to be, they're dead serious about it. Check this out. There are 30,000 colliders in the world. CERN being the most famous, but yes, 30,000. This is the EPA. Official, United States. What the hell is this? I don't get it. Have you ever wondered why there would be so much cancer and so much everything in the world? Well, if you have 30,000 colliders, okay. Some colliders do their jobs though, right? Those scientists that use them for experiments, the normal ones, okay, you do your thing. But when you get into this atomic and the particle physics and stuff, that's where the mad scientists all play. That's where they all hang out at. And at CERN, like I said, the most famous one, but not the only one, 1 in 30,000. The madness is beyond all known boundaries of even close to normal. You see, it's very odd that 85% of the world's population believes in God and only about, 10 to 15% of the world is completely godless. Now, do you realize that the world leaders know this? Of course they do. So how does 85% of the world fund godlessness and nonsense? I'll explain it to you. Most of the world believes in God. Mainstream, crazy, mad scientists who do not, they drive our scientific research. That's why things are so insane. And when the media bought and paid for, and thousands of fools who repeat the insanity and sugarcoat it for normal everyday people, I mean, that's not helping, you know, because if the world really knew what they were doing, it would surely be stopped. But when someone like me says something about it, you know, if I find a document or if I see what they've reported on, even though it's out of their own mouths, it's a conspiracy. I'm unqualified, searching for fame, I'm an idiot, don't listen to me. I understand. Yeah, I get it. I totally understand. A good way to deflect. It's what kind of person do you think it makes when you let a man who is power hungry, who wants to see something happen, add more power? If I just had more power, if you just made it stronger, if we just turn the heat up more, if we just make more light, you know, it would just maybe work. A scientist with no boundaries or rules. A psychopath. The entire staff that works with them are no different either. I'm not going to even give them a pass. That's their minions. They repeat this insanity to the masses. Just in a more graceful way. As not to have their jobs taken away, because it's a gravy job that they do. Imagine you work for a mad scientist. He's insane. He doesn't even care. If everyone knew the foolishness they were doing, they would stop it. And then no more gravy jobs. And what are they doing anyway that's so bad? Well, at CERN, 80% of the scientific community, okay, believes the Big Bang is, you know, where they start at. That's the glasses they wear. Every experiment, every equation, every foundation of discovery is based on evolution. Evolution, huh? And the vast majority of humans believe in God, so how are the people who believe in God not funding the proper things, but actually funding this ridiculousness? You see, their principles and the type of people who run these organizations for science, these schools, colleges, professors, all of them teach, study, and record as fact theories of evolution. You think a godless person gives a damn about humanity? Probably not. The Big Bang or evolution states that nothing exploded into nothing and created everything. Over billions of years, which is not enough time anyway, if it were true, goo on a rock miraculously formed itself into a complex life form. All that you see. It was said by a scientist if evolution were to be visual. Now this was a creation scientist. He said, imagine a tornado plowing through a junkyard, spitting out a fully operational, fueled up 747. Perfect, like it just came off the assembly line. See, that's foolishness. Meaningless, fraudulent. And at CERN, how many experiments are not made public? The ones that are sugar-coated, children's explanations. Like creating the black holes. They claim, oh, it's safe, nothing can possibly go wrong, despite many qualified scientists concerned about the unknown possibilities, I'm reading here, creating such powerful magnetic fields and smashing particles together. CERN even provides you with the data. And they don't have any problem airing out their worldviews or telling you who their God is either. They search for dimensions. It's not a joke, it's a fact. CERN states, imagine what we may find, a way to cross over into another dimension, or imagine what may cross into ours. What the hell? Nobody stops them? Opening microscopic black holes, right? These scientists have spoken up. To me, that seems pretty dangerous, okay? But a lot of people agree, but they're shut down, silenced, debunked. All the shills and the people on payroll, no, that could never happen. Absolutely never could that happen. Well, according to the math, yes it can. Catastrophic consequences that once done cannot be stopped. Y'all, seriously, you hear that? Catastrophic consequences that once done cannot be stopped. So is that when they say they're sorry and then everybody's like, oh man, we should have listened? Here's a picture. Just above CERN. Is that normal? Anybody gonna say anything? No? Mainstream, they kind of hid it from the public, okay? They didn't this should have been a big deal. Nothing to see here, just a portal for our fallen angel God to enter through. No one doesn't see here. Can we not do experiments that don't involve demons and shit? I mean, is that too much to ask? Like our grandfathers told us. They warned us. They were like, look, this is what they do. But nothing's changed. It was done in the past and they still do it now. Ultimately, I say this. Can you imagine going to work? You and your coworkers are supposed to be working, right? Someone pays you, but you decide to have a satanic ritual or sacrifice the demons on the clock, right? When you change a light bulb or take an order, you just use a Ouija board to guide you to, what the hell's going on? It's madness, I'm telling you. And they do it in our face. They can't even build a tunnel without having Baphomet and demons around. They can't have a simple Olympic Games. We can't even go play games with each other without bull gods and demons and it's ridiculous. Not to mention every single mission, everything is named after a fallen angel or fallen god or pagan god of some kind. Not the good ones either, just all the bad guys. I don't get it. That's why I say that these men that worship the old gods and they're mad scientists, they all rule the world. Their God is Baal, and it always will be Baal. Understand that. Get that through your head if you have not gotten that yet. Their God, his name is Baal. It always has been, and it always will be. Different forms, different shapes, different sizes, different everything. There's no Satan. There's just Lucifer and Baal and all the giants and the fallen gods that were used to walk this earth. The wise will think wisely. I know they will, and it's going to be okay. Don't be deceived by it, and don't fall for foolishness, right? Stay strong and keep your faith, because who knows how much time we have before God steps in and stops the madness of men, right? Everyone who has eyes to see and who has been touched by spirit knows that something's wrong, and I know you do. Someone watching this video right now knows something's wrong. They feel it in their heart just like I do. A sinner. The lowest ones on this earth. I have feathers just like them. But I too know something's wrong. I know something's wrong. Get right. Be good. Be excellent to each other. Love one another. Don't fall for it. Don't be evil. Don't be mad. Don't be angry. That's what they want you to be. Be happy. I love you all. You take care of yourself. I'm Wild Dog, and I am out of here.
If I were the devil. If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have 1/3 of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.